Treasures Day, we always look forward to it on a Thursday, where we'll normally have roughly about 100 individuals coming from many different centers, and we're looking forward to seeing them. We're now family, so there's on a hugging basis, and oh, it's so good to see you. They come in, and we will quickly get them settled to either start to sit down for an art project or separate them to go on the tour and separate them in groups based on different language needs with translators and connect them to the docents. The docents have become a really close partner with us as they have developed many individual relationships with some of the participants. They will come and assemble the groups and off they go on their tour.
When we first began the program, people were timid, they were afraid, they had not been to this cavernous place called Bowers Museum. So they came in and didn't know exactly what to do. Once the tour begins, we walk from items that we've pre-selected, and we try to ask questions. We try to find out how the people relate to items, and I love asking the open-ended question about what people see and how they relate to it, or if they have something that they'd like to add. The exhibits always coincide with some project that will be done later with the museum staff. So we try to tailor the artifacts that we choose and the stories that we tell to something that they're going to be doing later that day. And the projects are interesting and really exciting. The Duchess was young, pretty, and she was a fashion icon. She was the first woman to wear feathers in her hair. The other costume is from Casanova. Does anyone know Casanova? Oh, you're smiling. Yeah. I believe that the Treasures program has been a wonderful link to our community. In particular, some ethnic minority communities that might not have felt as welcome in a museum because they didn't have the opportunity to visit museums when they were growing up. And so making it a place where they could come and feel comfortable, I think has been an excellent opportunity for both the seniors and the museum as well.
I love being a docent. I love taking people around the museum and introducing them in a more intimate way to some of the artifacts and histories and cultures that are a part of the Bowers Museum. The Heavenly Horses exhibit features equine art from ancient and contemporary Chinese and Japanese culture.
Every noble person, general, warrior, and king had their favorite heavenly horses.
But there was a wonderful moment in touring some of our Latina audience members and them pointing out and saying the Spanish names for a lot of the horse bit and tack, a lot of the horse riding gear, a lot of horse related information. They were sharing their cultural take on it in addition to taking in the information about the specific exhibit. So there was this wonderful connection that was made, and in a way I ended up learning more from them, I think, sometimes than they do from me. Some of these artifacts in history are giving people insight into their own lives today.
Sometimes they had many.
The tour lasts about 35 to 45 minutes. It's discussion-based, and the docents will describe some of the different artifacts while the participants are talking to one another. While that's going on, the other half of the group is creating an art project. And the master teaching artist has assistants. We always have an artist who's sitting with a group at a table. We'll set up round tables in the John Lee Court. And then, of course, there's always cookies and some kind of juice, which is a nice little refreshment. And oftentimes, the participants are sitting and socializing. They're taking pictures of their artwork. They're showing one another. They're helping one another, or an aide or someone might be with them to help them. The other caregivers who might be coming, they're creating art too, and it just becomes one big art fest.
See how as the artist I interpret it very differently? So you get to be the artist and you get to interpret these pictures differently, however you want.
So a major element of the Treasures Project is the Master Teaching Artists group. And I began to select very unique professional artists from the local community who were not necessarily, it wasn't a classroom teacher. I was looking at a professional artist who might have a particular drawing and painting or some kind of particular focus, and interviewed them to very carefully see if they could connect with the type of senior that we were looking for.
A few seconds only, okay? But for all your painting, it takes you what, 2 hours, 3 hours, okay? So for watercolor, it maybe takes you 15 minutes. But for Chinese painting, a few seconds. 1 stroke, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. And you don't touch up, you don't, repaint it. Once you repaint it, it looks ugly, it looks bad, okay? For a real master, you can see his work. They never retouch up. Okay, 1 stroke final. Okay, so it takes you like 40, 50 years to learn Chinese painting, but it takes you only a few seconds to finish a painting. Like a bamboo, okay? 5 minutes, I can finish a bamboo painting. 5 minutes. You think it's easy? Okay, it takes you 40 years. Takes you 40 years before you can finish a 5 minutes bamboo painting, okay?
I try to create an environment where people feel safe and comfortable expressing themselves, and most of them start here a little bit scared to do something with artwork because they're afraid they're not an artist and they're afraid they're going to make a mistake and maybe afraid of even looking a little silly. And once they get started, it's beautiful to watch them open up and express themselves and feel safe and comfortable trying something new and watching the smiles on their faces as they do something that they've never done before and seeing results that they didn't even imagine they could do. And that's really wonderful to be part of. For me, what was enjoyable was to see their surprise as they saw what came out when they started to paint or create something out of clay, and to see their smiles on their faces as they surprise themselves and see them showing each other their art and being so proud of it and talking about who they wanted to show it to, where they wanted to hang it, or who they wanted to give it to. And when you hear those stories and when you see those smiles and you hear what they're going to do, you realize that what they do extends beyond just what happens here at the Bowers, and they take it with them. Everyone's really trying to create their best art because they see the person next to them and what they're doing, and they're getting inspired. And so this dialogue, this quiet dialogue, is happening through their involvement, through their brushwork, through their eyes absorbing and looking. And so they're even communicating with each other on a new level. So first they come in chatting and communicating verbally, and next they're communicating quietly through their painting. The participants at the Bowers Museum come from many different countries and speak many different languages. And even though in most cases I don't speak their language and their English isn't necessarily very developed, we can communicate very well just through paint and through smiles and through looking at each other and what I'm doing and what they're showing me. And when we smile, it's a universal language that everyone understands. I think it's important to support the Treasures program because it shows that as a community we value our seniors and we see how much we have to learn from them and how much they still are open to learning from us and to keeping that connection alive between all the different generations.
When we think about as we age, we have this basic question of why a program like this is useful for senior citizens. And we have to think about what are the consequences of aging to answer that question. One of the consequences of aging is that we all get damage to our brain in the form of lesions. And these lesions consist of Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and stroke. And in 98% of people who are completely normal, we find when we look at their brains at autopsy that they in fact have either Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or stroke, and they don't even know it. They're completely normal. And the only difference from those individuals to individuals who have memory problems or are demented is the amount of that damage. That asks the question, what is the cause of the accumulation of that damage? And it turns out that there are many things, but two of the things that are quite relevant to this program are cognitive exercise and physical exercise. And during the program at the Bowers Museum over the last 3 years, what we've seen is examples of art forms that engaged the mind and engaged the body.
The art program helped me to heal first, because the hours I'm in the class, I have opportunity to bring my feelings and the color and whatever is inside on the paper. And that's the best healing that I get.
I feel myself a little bit in every painting I did, and I learned to how to focus, and that's the resulting make me a lot calmer. I feel good about when I couldn't sleep or I'm angry, I just sit down and relax and paint.
I learned how to use painting as a way to express myself and my feelings, and I enjoy it very much.
When I work on these projects, I feel like my body responded very well. My brains try to help better than they used to, and for me it's a wonderful time when I try to get up and come and see my friends, to see people, to try to speak with them. I try to speak fluently, but in 2009 I received a stroke in my mouth. I have a problem speaking, but I hope you guys understand, and I try to do my best.
The Treasures program actually began out of problem solving, in a need to adapt a program that was funded by the James Irvine Foundation with the Arts Regional Initiative, which was a grant that began pretty much the day I began my position as Vice President of Education. The problem I needed to solve was adding classes targeted to seniors in 3 different categories, which was very successful in studio art, creative writing, and cultural arts lectures. They took off for a year.
the Irvine Foundation was right there with us. They really wanted to look at what they have described as the new California. So as California as a state is changing in its ethnic and cultural makeup, who are the arts serving? Who isn't being served by the arts? And how can they work with arts agencies to make sure that we're touching every life, not just a specific life?
We support arts organizations all across California, and our goal of our arts program is to promote engagement in the arts for all Californians, and we especially look to support arts organizations that work with diverse communities and low-income communities, and really looking at bringing the arts and the joy of the arts and the benefits that the arts provide into very diverse communities across the state.
Looking at art and interacting with art and how it would impact and improve memory loss and engagement. When I started to put all of these different partners together, that became the basis of a Treasures Advisory Committee, and it was the next step in the James Irvine Foundation grant initiative. So they came out with an RFP, which was exploring engagement, and this seemed to fit in just perfectly.
The Bowers and the Irvine Foundation, the James Irvine Foundation, have been working together for a number of years. And one of the reasons that partnership works so well is because the two visions are pretty consistently aligned. So the Bowers was working in a program funded by the James Irvine Foundation called the Arts Regional Initiative. And at the conclusion of that grant period, it was 2 grants totaling 6 years, the seeds of Treasures were really starting to grow. The transition that occurred really in the next phase was combining those two pieces with how can we reach our Latino and Asian audiences? Who are we not serving? Why aren't we serving them? And how can we reach them?
We've supported the Bowers actually over time in several different ways. And with a previous grant, we had supported them to start making some inroads with programming specifically for the senior community. And so with this grant through the Treasures program, we have supported them to expand that reach into specifically the Latino and the Vietnamese communities.
I can remember the moment when I knew that we were getting the grant. I received a phone call with the news, and I am a very superstitious person. Anytime I receive the news that the money is coming, there's a happy dance that must be performed. Usually in the privacy of my office, nobody ever sees the happy dance. But in this case, the happy dance is normally like a 10 to 15 second thing. This happy dance was like, I think maybe 4 minutes, and occurred spontaneously in the next couple of days several times. It's a big win, not just because it was a lot of money, but because it would be a lot of change. I knew it would be a lot of change. I knew it would transform the Bowers, and I was certain it would transform lives.
The program depth has exceeded my expectations through the up to the moon. I never expected all of the different team players to come together so beautifully, literally overnight. Out in the community, the way I put the program together is that there would be a series of 8 classes that had one specific theme. So the participants had an opportunity to really dig in a little deeper and to learn a particular technique, whether it was watercolor or portrait or something, with clay. And the quality of our Treasures participants over time has been transforming. They are now artists. Most of them had never worked with even pencil or watercolor pencil or clay or other kinds of oil paint or even studied different artists, and now they think of themselves as artists. The work combines words and poetry. Some of the women have even sewn clothes that match with some of the designs they've done on Vietnamese hats. Some of them have formed like a group where they compose their own songs and sing celebrations. So this community impact has just soared.
The future of the program will be somehow setting this on fire, that it franchises and it gets picked up by other people based on our experiences. And it's just critical for the Bowers Museum to continue with this program.
you have a program for art for senior citizen. And I was so excited about it because deep in myself, I would love to learn about art, but I never had the occasion to, up until now. Every Wednesday, I wake up in the morning, getting ready, get excited. I'm going to go and learn how to paint. It's the first time in my life.
Through this program, we discover ourselves. We don't know about ourselves first, but through this program, we discover our talent. We can do something about art. I don't know how to express myself. So when we enrolled to this program through my instructor, my teacher, he teach us how to express ourselves to the art.
Just art class itself is very special. And then we have the field trips to the Bauer Museum that every time there's something interesting, something surprising, and we made some pieces that we could take home and display at home. And I enjoy it a lot, and I really appreciate all these people who made it possible.
When the class starts, I live in West Covina. I read the book, the newspaper, New York newspaper, and I know that I have the class of painting. So I like so much. So I took the bus for every day at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I came home at 7 in the evening. But I feel so happy.